it's market day again, and today it is step 3, healing through food. So healthy food, when we break down the word healthy, we see heal thy food. Heal thyself through thy food. So 3 points we're going to talk about real quick before I fly off to the market again today. Omega-3s. Now there's a lot when it comes to essential fatty acids. EFAs is the acronym for it. And we'll say 3, 6, and 9 for now. One of the points I'm going to bring up here with the 3s is that the omega-3 fatty acid comes from outside of our body, from nature, which means somehow we are taking things in that have either eaten something with something that's got a bug that's got a 3 in it, or it's a plant. So watercress and purslane, these are plants, actually weeds. Purslane is a weed. You can actually buy the seeds, but it does grow just in certain spots, full of 3s. Okay, now 3 is essential for the body to have. And our eggs, for example, those eggs that have the 3 will be the eggs that you buy from the farmer that got it from the chicken, that got it from outside the chicken coop. Right now, they can be doing fancy stuff and adding it to the food. I'm not really wanting to go there. Sure, go ahead, try that. Try and get back to nature. We go, where do the 3s, or if we are down on the 3s in the essential fatty acids, if, for example, if you think fish has a 3 and it's a farmed fish, no, it's going to be high on 6. So we have to look a little bit closer to how that fish or food or plant was raised, because 3 is essential for brains, right? Now, we can get 3s in walnuts, is another one I use as well. The chia, flax seed, I use it as a blend, and I'm going to get to that point on the seed kind of stuff in a moment. And then there's the eggs, like I've said. So spending a little bit more money because these things have been taken better care of for us. For example, somebody's already sprouted that chia seed and flax seed. There, right? Or the one I wanted to talk about real quick today was the cricket powder. Cricket powder is jam-packed full of 3. I even made some notes here. Cricket powder, and I went through a phase, I'm not on it now, but I did go through a phase of using cricket powder in everything. Smoothies, I was making JoJo bars with them. Sprinkling the crickets onto a salad. You know, not everything tastes great, but when you can mix these things into things that do, it's brilliant, because then you know you're getting it in your diet. So cricket powder, B12. Now that's another one too. We have to look closer at B12, how you're taking it in. Cricket powder has more B12 than liver, beef's liver. Like, that's crazy. B12 is essential to be getting into the diet. And so things like cricket powder and different foods, B12 a little trickier with food to get, but iron, more iron than liver as well, I was saying, than beef. Like, that's huge. So if you are someone who's a vegan and not eating meat, then you still need to really look and see where you're getting your B12s, B12s, amino acids from, and essential fatty acids. Luckily, you can get them from plants. So that's my note on the essential 3s. I'm going to dive into the sprouting now. Okay, so that pack maybe cost me more money, but the seeds in that, not only have they been ground down, they've also been, before grinding, they've been sprouted. Which means, and I think I've mentioned this in one of the last videos, is that the chemical that keeps that seed dormant, okay, or the nut, legume, bean, it needs to be wet so that it gets loosened up and rid of. And then if you were to leave it there, maybe you're going to pour water over it for a couple of days, it'll grow into a sprout, right? So as soon as you've given it 8 or more hours, depending on what you're trying to, you know, ferment or sprout or get moving, so that it digests awesome in your body, it doesn't create all this acid, like reflux and bloating and all that, and gassiness, then you want to just spend some extra time going through the process of sprouting it yourself, or got more bucks, you buy yourself a bag, someone's done it for you. Organics, certified organics, it's important to look at, just based on the amount of radiation we're having to take in, just in from Wi-Fi, and then there's the environmental breathing stuff into. Radiation are seeds if they're not certified organic and they're just conventional seeds. Now this was the information I gathered as a young professional learning these things, that they irradiated these seeds because of bacteria, crossing borders, all that kind of stuff. Fine, go on, do what you need to do. But you can find seeds that are certified organic, they have not been irradiated. Teas and herbs are the same thing. And so just again, a little bit more time, attention to detail, maybe connection with the farmer's market, get to know the farmer who grew those sprouts. Are they growing it right in front of you? Like maybe they're bringing it to the market, you can see them actually growing. Attention to detail and effort. Time under tension. Effort. Time under tension means I gotta pour this, maybe a jar of some beans into a bowl. I gotta go and get it under a sink, put some water in it, let it sit. Oh boy, that took me a lot of effort, right? So sometimes actually getting to the action, we can make ourselves feel like, you know, maybe we don't have the energy there. Because if we had the extra energy on store, when we're being guided to go and do that for ourselves and to heal life food, it's not there to help us out to go, or is it there to help us to go? Is the energy there to help us to go and do that action, or is there no energy and the body, you can feel, just wants to pull back? Even though, how many movements did it take me to actually get the beans now soaking for overnight? Not long. So before you walk away from being guided to follow, to do something to heal life food, question, are you reacting as a low energy? You're not able to do that easy step, or why? Why are you walking away? Right? So you can kind of go, okay, yeah, I've just been present to me not going and maybe drinking water. Maybe you're walking away from your water every day. Oh, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later. Right? No, you stop, you backtrack, you go in, you do it. You just go in and you do it, okay? And then that step's done. 8 hours later, you pull it out, and then you do on a simmer, like just a simmer boil on it, and you've gone and done and cleaned up your legumes or whatever you're sprouted. So these are the little things that can add up over time, and your body literally becomes a detoxification machine, right? Which means that you can hear this post about that issue of this food and that food and all this and the environment and the Wi-Fi and the people and just make sure you become a detoxifying machine and all will roll well, which means balance, right? So we get back down here. Let's talk a little bit more about this, because balance, like a yin and yang sign, if it's a wheel like a bicycle wheel, if you're off even one spoke on that wheel, your wheel is not going to roll very well. So we want to really look at what Paul calls in this book, How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy. My Bible for now, over 20 years. 25 now. No, this 20 years. 2005, baby. That's when I met this book and Paul. So the 4 white devils is what he calls them. For a while there, I was calling them the four energy suckers, and I added a couple more on top of his, but today I'm only going to mention his 4. Now, many of you you're going to have some of this stuff in your diet. I'm living in a house and taking care of a house right now that has this in the cupboards. That's okay. Again, detox, exercise, water. I mean, we can manage these 4 things, but know that they are breaking off your spokes a bit. So you're gonna find yourself bumpy in disease, depression, maybe adrenal fatigue, maybe weight gain. There's all kinds of symptoms that can come from doing stuff around the 4 devils. So let's talk real quick on what those are. White salt. Oh, okay. White salt and white sugar. Let's kind of talk about both of those. Where did they come from? White salt, white sugar. Okay. Well, sea salt. Okay. Mountain salt. Okay. And sugar cane. Now, if you look at what those are, what color are they? Well, cane sugar is golden. And what about sea salt? Well, gray sea salt is from the sea. Oh, it's gray. Oh, and mountain salt, volcano salt, right? We look at black salt. Wow, yeah, it's not white. Now, how the heck did it get to white? Well, way back, people who had the luxury of being around beautiful things had white salt created and white sugar created because it looked really good on the tables. Let's admit, it's beautiful stuff. I mean, it makes delicious desserts. Come on. Shortbread cookies, I'm English, are my favorite thing, one of my favorite things. So white salt, white sugar make lovely food, but they are poisonous to the body. So we want to go back to the minerals. Oh, okay, so I can alternate that. I can change that white salt and sugar to a cane sugar or a coconut sugar. Yeah, you can. Okay, cool. And the white salt, can I use sea salt instead? Yeah. Can I find one a little more on the white side because the darker stuff kind of freaks me out? Yeah, you can. But if it's strictly white, and even if it says kosher, no, it's probably still not heavy, dense minerals or color. So you do want to get the best salt I've ever had was from volcano rock, black volcanic rock. Now, crazy stuff is going on out there now. Salt's all in. So be careful. It hasn't been chefed up and added to and mixed around. Okay, because that's going the other direction. Take all of this stuff off the salt. Now you're going to put too much on. No, get back to the center in the middle and go, no, I just want stuff that maybe looks a little wet in the container because that's what's called mother liquor. The mother liquor from the ocean is going to keep that salt kind of damp. So when you look at it, you know, the bag is going to kind of look a little bit moist. That's probably good salt. Now, a note on salt, please. We're hearing more and more how awful our salt is becoming because of heavy metals. So again, I take it back to detoxification system machine, right? You're going to get that down. You're going to just be, you know, salting, no problem. Your body is flushing out any heavy metals that are coming into that salt. That's the reality that we're living in for using those plastics that we use and it ending up into the oceans. And I'm not sure what's going on with the mountain salt, but maybe that's a little bit safer. Not to buy at a furniture store as well. Like, you may want to change your mind on where you're buying your sea salt because who you knows what they're putting in the salt if it's a furniture store. So common sense says, where am I going to get the best quality stuff? Health food stores. They take the time. They educate you as well, right? So health food stores, go and check it out. You'll meet some amazing people as well. They can't wait to answer your questions. I mean, most of them have been going to school for this for a long time and they're just waiting for you to walk in their store so they can help educate you on what's going on in the health stores in the world, not big box stuff and like, you know, furniture stores selling sea salt. Come on, people. We can do better than this. So that's the white salt and white sugar. There's more on that coming up on the challenge over the next 6 weeks. That's important to know, of course, but every little bit helps. So the last couple here on the devils that Paul talks about in his book, you got gluten. Okay, now that gluten stuff comes from flour. Now, the same thing as salt. If you get into a flour and you can make that flour better quality alternative to just a white plain processed flour, go for it. Grains are good for you, especially metabolically if you are more of a carbohydrate type. You want to get into some good quality fermented grains. So, I mean, I can give you my story. I ended up doing this whole gluten thing. I didn't want to really know the information though, because I love breads. I'm English. I just the whole thing around even just a scone, like in the dairy and the butter. I mean, I'm in. So, but once I got down into the holistic lifestyle coaching, the license that I was obviously I had to actually start using and practicing and getting better at. I had to take it on. I had to do what my coach was telling me, and it was come off of grains, all grains for 3 weeks. And so to do that, I told myself I'm coming off for 3 weeks, but I'm going to go back on whatever I want. So I did one of those. I'm like, I'll go off for 3 weeks just to see, I'm not gluten intolerant. And sure enough, 3 weeks went by and I was breaking out. I was probably, I don't know how old I was, 30 something. I was breaking out from the detox from the gluten. I had all kinds of symptoms from gassiness to constipation to diarrhea. headaches, nausea. I was dehydrated, so nausea would set in the mornings especially. I remember it was just back pain because the adrenals were not being supported by what was going on with the detox. So I quite quickly realized that, damn, that coach of mine was right. But then I got a little sneaky and I thought, well, okay, I did say I was going back on it, so can I go back onto a grain? Now, I also am very tiny. I don't have a lot of weight on me, so I do have to consider that grains are calorie dense. So I just started to look at different things and alternatives, and I realized that a sprouted spelt, because spelt on the scale of gluten was a low gluten grain. Okay, now this is years back. Now we've got even more that have come out, like kamut and millet, and you know, those kinds of grains. Kamut, I use more. Millet's a very high acidic. It can get you kind of riled up. As buckwheat as well. You got to be careful with buckwheat. Those who are sensitive adrenal types, that buckwheat grain can push you over the edge, believe it or not. So careful on that buckwheat. The millet the same. Takes a bit to break down. That's why you need to cook these grains really well, so that your digestion can just finish it up. Okay, you start the digestion process through the cooking, the sprouting, and then the cooking, and then, you know, getting off the al dente when you're going through a bit more of a stricter time, just a little bit more softer. A lot of these boxes and things we buy these pastas in, they're not giving you enough time to cook that pasta. Really notice that, and even breads and muffins and stuff. Really check in with the time, and that grain has been cooked down well enough so that your digestion can really enjoy that along with you. So there, I went off trail a little bit around that, but back to the gluten. So yes, so I went to sprouting, spelt, and that's what I slowly, and I just, because I'd come off for 3 weeks, I didn't even go back on a lot. I guess a form of empathy came over me for myself during the detox. I didn't realize. So when I did get back on the grains, I was a better version of myself. So I was more gentle, I was more loving, more caring. So I wouldn't overconsume. You know, I might have just had a couple days I'd go by and have, I can't remember, it was a long time ago. Since then, I've been caught up and love sourdough. Now, as the sourdough process is a fermentation process, that also clears gluten out of grains. So if you can buy sourdoughs with even a spelt, which is what is awesome because you're getting the spelt and the fermentation from the sourdough, the flour that you ended up using. So there are so many little ways and little tricks that you can do to alternate things a bit, and it can really boost up those energy levels back up again, so your immune system can just get back to doing what its job is. Its job is not to suffer. Its job is to actually keep you homeostasis in that place of peace, roughly on the edge of that coin, just like tickety boo, right? But when we go extremes with things like the 4 white devils, and if we go too far, then yeah, we're going to take like too long getting over a cold. We can't sit still long enough to heal anymore. There's too many things we have to get to. So getting yourself, just even coming off this, can like boost you, and you can find that respiratory cough goes away, right? Seriously, just getting those 4 things sorted. Now, 5 and 6, what I added on was the caffeine. Again, it jacks you up. I love it. It's helpful. Supportive, but it can be dangerous. So we have to be very careful what time of day. It's 12 hours is the life of caffeine, which means half of that, 6 hours. You're looking at, if you want to go to bed and sleep well, you want to stop drinking it was 3 p.m. years ago. Now I'm actually thinking, for me, it's noon. I'll squeeze it in if I really need it, like for between 12 and 1, but I try and keep it in before 12 o'clock. This way, the cortisol is in the system. Maybe you put some fat in there, some good heavy cream, but the sun is up, and when the sun starts to come down, the cortisol is meant to come down, like I've mentioned in the last step. So respect the body, and it'll respect you. It'll heal. You'll heal your body through your food. You'll start to change that. So the gluten comes from the flour. Now the other one we want to look at is, and we don't want to hear too much until they tell you the alternative, it is not so bad anymore, is dairy. Pasteurized dairy, homogenized dairy has been basically zapped. It's like the sugar, it's all the nutrition has been taken off of it So maybe it looks good, or like cheese, it's cheaper, right? Safer, so they say, which is fine. But listen, hey, go ahead, do what you need to do. There's going to be ways that we can find a better quality too. And that's raw cheeses. And you've got yogurts and kefirs from companies, organic, certified organic as well, if you can, get it in. Cleaner environments, good fats, for example. Unhomogenized yogurt will find a lovely layer of fat on top. The homogenized yogurt, when they homogenize something, they blast the fat. The fat molecules are so small. But the issue with that is that it actually can enter your bloodstream from your gut. So leaky gut, you've probably heard of that as well. So when you're looking at doing dairy yogurts, look for unhomogenized certified organic dairy. Yes, in a jar is ideal. Plastics, okay, we'll see, it's getting better, but yeah, glass is better. And then with the cheeses is amazing. You can actually buy aged cheese or certified organic aged cheese unpasteurized because it's aged. So it's not pasteurized. I mean, that was for me, like, wow. And there's companies that do these cheeses that are raw, which means that all the enzymes and everything, all the nutrition in the cheese there is there for you. It hasn't been taken and stripped away. Okay, now that's cost you a little bit more money at the store. You know what though? When you start spending more money, you take care. I don't throw much in the garbage like that. Now, sometimes things in life can get caught up and things can have to go into the compost. Fine, but in most cases, it's just like it's being used constantly, not because I'm spending good money, but also because it's good quality food, and also I can get leftovers. So there's a lot of benefits and saving money when you do this from home, on your own or with friends and family. So I think I got to the 4 devils there, right? The thing with dairy is that if you're intolerant to gluten, with the 3 weeks, I forgot to mention this, the 3 weeks that my coach Paul had me come off of the grains, dairy came out too, because to the degree you are intolerant to gluten, and many of us are, we can still cheat and not feel it so bad. A celiac disease person will die from it. What was I saying? Darn. Oh, yeah. To the degree that you are intolerant to gluten, you may be also intolerant to dairy. So you take out what's maybe the problem, and then you experiment bringing it back in. After the 3 weeks, you sort of bringing in very slow. No big deal. After the 4 days, you got the first 4 days to just battle through with symptoms. And then literally after that, things get better. Things actually look brighter. Everything feels better. Trust me, just the first 4 days, just hammer through it. But after 3 weeks, you can start to play with that, and then dairy ends up being okay. Usually, what's the major symptom for me was gassiness. So once things started to change, and I ended up doing, I'll talk more about this when we get to it. This is the antifungal, the Fungal Link series. Fungal Link, many of us suffer that candida, that bloating, gassiness. That diet changed everything for me, and it was about taking out pretty much all of the sugars, and it was a 30-day diet. But once that happened, the bloating, gassy, it kind of all went away, and that was a major symptom I had to struggle with my whole life. So it's one that I am clear I have gotten better on, and it's because, first of all, that fungus-linked diet and also managing the gluten in my diet. So I can cheat a little bit. I have a great supplement that manages gluten for me as well. I'll share that again another time. But I take that supplement before I have something. I've gone out to dinner, for example, and there's all that lovely bread and butter. So I'm like, you know what? Down the hatch, got some enzymes in there that manage gluten. And then I can have that bread. And then the wine. The red wine also is the grape skin. Breaks down that gluten. So not only is that restaurant giving me sourdough bread, right? I'm also going to get my gluten guard, that's what it's called. And then I'm going to have a glass of wine, and that's going to help too. So there are, once you become a little bit more aware of everything, all these little things, you can start making those little changes in your diet, and they really help. So I can have days where I can have gluten, and it's not every day. I do. Kamut is the new grain. I love it. It doesn't have much gluten. I think 1% gluten. So I think still celiac needs to be very careful with that. But it is a great grain. Great bread, squishy bread, like it's gluten almost, but it's not. Sourdough breads made from kamut. Amazing. Yeah, so once this diet's done for 30 days, it's kind of like a spring thing. I've started it. I'm on a phase 2 because I went through the hard one that 1 year, and every year after that, I do a less as painful one. I've lost too much weight. My weight's too low to come off of all of the sugar that you come off of on that. So, but I like that 30-day window to just give the body a time to just get everything cleaned up inside, because the spring we have that push for sprouting in us, so we want to allow the body to clean up and get ready for another great year ahead. Okay, so I think that's it. I think I've talked my mouth off again today, which is great. Hopefully you got what you could and you caught what you could from it. And the next video is going to be step 4. That's my domain. That's my exercise domain. I'm going to give you guys some movements and kind of make sure you've got your program designed for your exercise program. Has got these 7 primal pattern movements. There is an 8th, but I'm keeping the 8th quiet. I have to talk to Paul Chek about that because I'm adding it to his 7. So anyways, that's it from this side, and I hope you too can also get to the market. And if it's a nice day here in Toronto spring, I'm not sure if the sun's out, but it was yesterday. We're looking forward to that more energy coming and warmth coming across the horizon there. It's beautiful. So until I see you next time, next video, all the best. Take your notes and don't be overwhelmed, one step at a time. Start with number 1. What are your eggs like? What do you do with your seeds? Yeah? All right. I'll see you next time. Enjoy your day. Bye for now.